So hey, we're here and I'm going to try to demonstrate building up and building out, which are two parts of world building. I'm trying to build a world on the fly, working off of 4 suggestions that I take out of this reappropriated trick-or-treat basket right here. This one says 2 moons, so I'm not using that one. I don't know why it's stuck on the side there. Anyways, so I'm going to demonstrate a building up, which is part of the antecedent process, which is taking your fantasy conceits. It works for the bottom-uppers, as in they take the things that they've already worked on and written, put them together, and figure out how to do it via streamlining and such, looking at what the core components of the world is. And then I'm going to build out from that, which is what top-down people do once they have their conceits. So the bottom-up people build up to get their conceits, and top-down build out from those conceits. So let's find 4 conceits that we're going to have today. There's 3 and a 4th. Let's get that one first. I foolishly taped these together to prove that I couldn't see which ones they were. I do not even know what my own handwriting says. Alright, we might have to grab another one. Dinosaurs. It says dinosaurs. Hooray. Alright, so we have dinosaurs, submarines, undead dogs. Oh, this is going to be fun. And I think I know what this one says already. Definitely going to have to work on this process. Oh, that one says dinosaurs. Alright, pick up another one. Dinosaurs, undead dogs, and submarines. And the winner will be year-long wet season. Alright, that's an interesting one. That's a geography. Alright, so undead dogs, submarines, and dinosaurs. Let's get to work and see what I can come up with. I'll show back up in just a second with my antecedents. All this will hopefully done in about an hour. Okay, so I'm about 10 minutes in and I finished up squat here. I finished up my building up phase, as in I'm trying to categorize these. And what that means is I'm putting the fantasy conceits into their proper categories, which are the 6: geography, biology, physics/magic, metaphysics, and technology and culture. So put those into their proper orders, and then using streamlining, I'm connecting them thematically and making sure they work together. There's a thing from South Park about replacing all the and thens with buts or therefores, where you kind of tie all of your plot points together. Well, we're doing that with the world building here in the building up phase. So when you look at these conceits, we have year-long wet season. That's geography. You can't read that, but that's not the point. That's what I'm pointing at. Dinosaurs, that's biology. That's pretty clearly biology. And then we have submarines, which is going to be interesting because that's technology. And then undead dogs. So one of these things is not like the other. These 3 are very plausible. Year-long wet season is very real. Dinos actually existed, as do submarines. Undead dogs are the actual most fantasy thing in this fantasy conceit. So I'm going to, my storyline that I'm kind of working with for the world right now is that it's in the future of now on Earth, and things going wrong, and they discover there are rifts in the ocean, and they're sending, everything's going wrong with Earth. It's about to implode, so they are sending a arc through in a submarine. This is going to be sort of Battlestar Galactica style submarine, where it's they're there to live there for a long time. They go through the portal, and they end up in this foreign world that has dinosaurs and a year-long raining season. So there's going to be a long period if we're going to experience that year-long raining season, so we'll know what it is. And then the dead dogs, I have an idea of how that's going to all work in, but this is where I'm going with right now. These three conceits, the technological and the plausible ones, I guess you can say, with biology, technology, and geography, are all grouped together. And then I have a way to bring those in, which I'm about to go develop for a few more minutes. This is what's starting my building out phase, which is the top down. Now that I know what my conceits are, I know what their antecedents are, I've seen how they all kind of play together. Now I'm going to build out to make this world make a lot more sense. So here we are, about 40 minutes later, and I am going to try to give you the building out of what I am tentatively calling Dinosaur BSG for Battlestar Galactica, which is obviously going to be a big influence on this one. This is actually a lot more story and character based than I was expecting, but that's kind of to show you how much world building affects the character, which affects the plot, which affects the world building, etc., etc. I have a nice little chart that's from the or infographic from the book that's coming out about this. So hopefully it's up on the screen at this point. And let me walk you through this world real quick. I'm going to try to give you the stuff you've seen from the antecedents and look how I built out a little bit on that. I started looking at the culture of what's going to be like on the submarine. I know culture wasn't one of the conceits, but it is one of the output details because life is on the sub. The story is going to have to revolve around the sub if it's one of our fantasy conceits. So as such, we're going to have to build out the culture of the sub. I decided based on Battlestar Galactica kind of thing, and it's an arc to save everyone. It's going to be under military rule. It's going to be all based around fighters, scientists, and redundancy. So you have to be able to do one of those things, hopefully two of those things, and if you have to be sacrificed, sorry, but we're trying to save the species, so we care about the collective rather than the individual. So that's what the culture of this submarine is going to be. It's far future, or near future anyways, so that means that it's got a little technology, so it's kind of sci-fi in the same way Battlestar was, where it's still realistic, but but a little bit in the future. Entertainment and that kind of thing isn't that important. As I said, it's in the near future, so Earth is being torn apart by a nuclear war that somehow tore a rift in the ocean. Water was seeping out even faster, so they decided to send some people through in this big ship because the Earth was about to go down. So there were several sent through, but our story begins with this one ship going through. They find this world that is basically the Cretaceous period. The Jurassic period, which I looked up. This is part of the research that I was doing very quickly. Research is always important. I learned that the CO2 levels during the Jurassic period were high enough that it'd be very uncomfortable and you would get runner's high, or not high, you'd get high basically, and get tired and such. CO2 poisoning basically from that level. So they arrive on this planet, CO2 is high, but there's dinosaurs. Like, what? So, and the CO2 being what it is, they decided that they've gone back in time, kind of Land of the Lost-esque, and they lose a lot of people on the submarine because there's these Leviathan, forgot what they're, plesiosaurs or something. Anyways, I really like using the Jurassic period, even though Jurassic Park, most of the dinosaurs weren't from the Jurassic Park, I found out doing my slight research. But the Allosaurus and Stegosaurus are, and the Archaeopteryx, which I think is the feathered dinosaur, and we're going to use that one because I come from a bird family, so that's when we make arbitrary decisions like that. That should all be setting the story. Again, the biological things, they realize that there is a wet season and it's really wet, monsoon style. Story is that these people are ready to colonize. They've been here for over 2 years, and it's time to start the story, which I also developed here, and I'll be reading off of the screen just because that's easier for me than anything else. So if I'm not looking at the camera now, you'll know why. This is going to be a YA story, just because the tone, as I talk about in the book, needs to fit the world and vice versa. This is, the wish fulfillment on this one is not very fantasy. This actually could fall into the sci-fi until we get to the undead dogs in a minute. So I thought I would do it as a coming of age story, which kind of fits the tone and the theme because it's going to be, we've ruined things. We're starting over, and we have to deal with some of the sins from the past. So again, this is a world that's torn apart. The main character in this is going to be named Sean. This is kind of a riff off of Ripley because it's ripping something apart, and Sean, spelled S-E-A-N, is like a seam, putting it back together. So just because I was going to make it a female because it's more compelling to me, but since there's kind of a Ripley subplot going with this, I thought I would make it a male. This submarine has about 10,000 people on it. As I said, it's highly military, and they're all about redundancy, sacrificing the individual for the greater good because they have to, because they're looking for the species and keeping it alive. Everyone has to wear gas masks when they're on land because of the CO2 levels, which I learned about from my geography conceit and researching that one. Let's see. So Sean and his family, his mother is in the military because everyone's redundant, even the families, and the father is a scientist. They're part of the first wave of colonization. They have this island that they're going to, so there's the furthest he's ever been away from the submarine that he's grown up on. I'd probably tell this in the first person POV, and you're like, I live in a world of dinosaurs, but who would have thought that would get boring after a while? Then talking about what it's like on the submarine, and but we're not meant to live on water forever. Now it's time to start colonizing. His family is really lucky because they got to be part of the first wave. They won it in the lottery, but he doesn't feel very lucky. They get to the island, and it's just wonderful. It's full of wonder and yet terrifying because there's dinosaurs. That's kind of cool. And then so we spend a few months building out of that, of being there for the first time. There's going to be Archaeopteryx that we're going to name Archie, and is a little bit stunted or something and is left, and of course he makes friends with it, because every story needs a little bit of that. So anyways, he has a little friend named Archie, who's a pet. It's basically a pet, but they're not allowed to have pets because they didn't bring any pets on the boat. So anyways, they're exploring the island. The father is a scientist. He's been doing some weird readings. He goes and finally uncovers this shrine, which turns out to be, kind of Prometheus-esque. A shrine. They go in there, and he recognizes the writing. It's actually in Chinese or something else, not English, because that'd be too easy. And they realize that this is kind of deep time that they didn't go back in time. They've gone so far in the future that time has started cycling on itself. But as they're pulling out things, they disturb the dead that are there, which are dogs. So we finally get to our undead dogs. This is, they're more spirits. If you've ever seen the Final Fantasy, the movie, kind of like that. They're spirits. They can pass through things, ghosts basically, but they can kill you by doing that. They cut you every time. Dad is killed right away. Sean and family escape. Dogs follow them. They realize they can only come at night. A lot of the people are killed in the place, and the submarine is going to leave very, very soon, and they have 24 hours to get home. So it's now your basic story. They realize a little bit later that the dogs can only hunt during the night, so they're trying to make it during the day. Archie, the dog-esque Archaeopteryx is following them. Mom's trying to get rid of it. Family dynamics, yada yada. There's a story. Dogs are hunting them. There's one dog in particular that seems to be out for them. Flash forward. There's aliens-esque kind of thing. Finale involves Archie sacrificing itself for the family. Sean goes back for it and gets stopped by the dog that's been hunting him this whole time. Either through telepathy or whatever, because who knows what the magic is. They kind of have a little confab, and we realize that the dogs that are the spirits of the domesticated dogs from way, way back. And when things were going bad on the Earth, we started testing on them and eating them, and it was kind of like you broke the pact of domestication. We were supposed to be together, and you weren't supposed to turn on us, and you killed us because of disease and everything. So our spirits are unhappy and are hunting you. But he sees how Sean has treated Archie by going back for him, and sees maybe there's hope for humanity after all. let Sean go back to the submarine, which brings us back to the tech conceit. They get off the island, and I haven't decided if his family lives or not. But anyways, that is building out. I took some random ideas, put them together, and saw how the world generated around that, which in turn generated a story and characters to populate that story, which then fed back to the world building. And the undead dogs can suddenly make sense-ish, with dinosaurs and a year-long rainy season, which is a good ticking clock for them having to get back as well, because if the rainy season starts, they'll never find their way. So there you go. There is a story, Dinosaur BSG, all of it done in, looks like about 50 minutes from drawing it out from the bowl. And I hope you're entertained. Forging Fantasy Realms, I should be doing one of these once a week, or just pick some random story ideas and build a world. I hope you enjoyed.